Morning, everybody. I hope you're doing well wherever you are in the world. Today's going to be a little bit different to what I normally talk about. Normally I'm talking about the stroke that I've had. But today I just really want to talk about some other stuff. Yeah. When you've had a stroke, some days you are depressed and you're down. And today is one of them days. I just feel so pissed off, to be quite honest. Yeah, just pissed off. So I'm laying in bed this morning and I'm thinking back to when I was a kid. Like, I'm talking about maybe 10, 11, 12 years old. And thinking about the kids today, more or less all over the world. What are they doing? Most of them, in the UK anyway, are playing on their laptops or their phones or their computers. And it just brought me back to my childhood when I was growing up. We lived in a place called Watford, which is in the UK. And at the top of our road was, we called it woods, where it's lots of trees. You might call it a forest, wherever you are in your country. And that was my backyard, the woods. That was my backyard. So I'm going to talk about what I used to do. You might find it interesting. And this is another reason why, when I think back as to why I consider myself to be lucky to be alive, to actually get out of my childhood. Yeah. So please keep watching. So let's go back to around about the 1957, 58 time, that sort of time. Yeah. I'm growing up in the UK, and as I just said, we had the woods at the bottom of our road. Yeah. Now at that time, a lot of boys, their hobby was collecting birds' eggs. Yeah. And nowadays it's illegal. Yeah, but in them days it was okay. So we used to go out collecting birds' eggs in various places. That would be up in the woods or at the riverside, collecting ducks' eggs, the likes of like that. But mainly it was in the woods, collecting all the different types of birds' eggs. Now, to get to the majority of the birds' eggs, you had to climb the trees. So some of the nests would be lower down, but nests like crows and stuff like that would be very high up in the trees, very, very high up in the trees. And you had to climb up there to get it. So many a time I've been right at the very top of a tree, and I'm talking maybe 40 or 50 foot. And here I am at 10, 11 years old, scrambling out on these branches just to reach out and get a bird's egg. Yeah, because that was what we was collecting. We used to collect them and put them in showcases. So you can't explain what it's like. When I think back, the trees are wet, yeah, the wind is blowing, yeah, and you're being blown all over the place. But you've got to get to that nest. You've got to actually get to that bird's nest. And some of the nests were right out on very fragile branches. Quite a few times I fell, yeah, through the branches, and the branches broke my fall. But on the whole, you had to get to that bird's nest to get that egg. So the easiest way of bringing the egg back down again was to put it in your mouth. Yeah. So imagine this. You've got up there through all the trees and you've scratched and everywhere else. You've got this egg and you put it in your mouth. It's covered in birds' crap. Yeah. You don't care. You've got the egg. That's what it was all about, getting up there. You put the egg in your mouth and now you've got to get back down. The reason why you put it in the mouth is because you don't want to break it. You don't want to break the egg. Yeah, it's taken so much effort to get up there. You just don't want to break it. And you know, if you was pretty good at it, you could carry 2, possibly even 3 eggs down in your mouth if there was stuff like that. But on the whole, even in them days, we would always leave 1 or 2 eggs left in the nest. We wouldn't take them all, yeah. But some nests would have quite a lot of eggs in there, so you could take some of them. The worst ones was the crow's eggs, because they were quite big, so you could only really get one in your mouth, yeah. And basically that would be it. You're up there, now you've got to get down. You're scrambling back down this tree, yeah. And by now you're tired, wet, scratched to hell, where all the branches have scratched your skin. And in them days, we used to wear short trousers, so all your legs would be scratched and bleeding. But basically, you would get down from that tree, and success. You've got that egg, yeah, and you're so pleased with yourself that basically you've done it. So that was it. Now, at that time, most of the woods in the UK were very old. I'm talking about hundreds, if not thousands of years old. So if you fell out the tree, it wasn't like falling onto a concrete floor. You're going to fall onto ground that was pretty soft, because over the years all the branches and the leaves have made it like peat. So the ground itself was pretty soft. And I can't remember how many times I've actually fell out of trees and just gone through the branches all the way down to the floor, yeah. And basically got up and climbed back up again, yeah. There was none of this drama or anything else like that. So I just wonder with the kids nowadays, you know, is there any kids out there in the world doing that sort of stuff? Did you guys in America in the 1950s and 60s, if you're watching this, do anything like that? It'd be interesting to know. So keep watching, please. Thank you so much. So the eggs would be put into a display box, and the box was normally about 2 feet by about 1 foot. In that, there would be sawdust put in the bottom, and then the eggs would be actually laid out all in, from big right the way down to small. You'd have like the crow's eggs at the top, right the way down to the smaller eggs right at the very bottom, yeah, whatever you was collecting. And it was a good hobby. Nearly all the kids at that time, the boys anyway, used to collect birds' eggs, yeah. So birds' eggs are all different sizes, different colours, and it was a mission to go out and collect eggs. It was a mission, you know. Let's say you're going to go out and you're going to collect, at the time, swan's eggs. That was a real mission, to actually go out and get swan's eggs. It's illegal now. You cannot even think about doing anything like that. But basically, how many times have I really gone to a lake, yeah, and waded out through water to get to the swan's eggs that are out in the marshes? You know, when you actually sit back and think, yeah, I'm lucky to be here. I'm lucky I didn't die in the river. So I thank myself lucky that at the moment I've got to my age, because when I do really think back, I shouldn't be here. I should not be here from what I've done. And maybe there's a lot of guys out there the same. You've done similar sort of stuff. And it's not until you actually sit down and think, you know, what if my kids were doing it now? I'd have a heart attack. There's no way that I could let them do it. No way in a million years could I let them do stuff like that. But at that time, it was just normal stuff. You wouldn't even think twice about it. You know, we've got a park here called Maysbrook Park, and I remember swimming out to one of the islands. Yeah, swimming out to one of the islands to actually basically get eggs, collect birds' eggs, yeah, collect mallards' eggs, yeah, ducks' eggs, you know. I don't know. The kids nowadays have really got no idea of the older generations of basically what we done just for a hobby. Nowadays it's on their phone for playing a game, and in my days it was risking your life to get a bird's egg. Yeah, so there you go. So happy times when I think back. Happy times when I think back. But dangerous times when I think back. Dangerous. So, when we used to get back down with the eggs and take the eggs home, yeah, you had to be careful with them. And it was at a time of the year where you had to try and get the timing right, yeah. Now, you don't want an egg that's addled. What that means, addled, means is basically when it's already a chick in the egg. You want it to get the timing right so that it's like, as a chicken's egg is today, when you break open a chicken's egg, you've got the yolk and you've got the white. And it's the same with birds' eggs. If you timed it right, you could get the egg just right. And the reason for that was because you want to get the inside of the egg out. You don't want to leave it in the egg, yeah? And how we used to do that was you would get the egg in your hand and get a needle or a pin and pierce a hole in either end of it. And then what you would do is blow the egg, and you would blow the yolk and the white of the egg out. So all you're left with then is basically the shell, yeah? And it's not going to go bad then, it's not going to break or anything else like that. But then you would put it in your box, yeah, your box of sawdust. And it's another trophy if you want, if that's what it was at them times. I had hundreds of eggs, hundreds. And when I think back, I don't know how much that would have been worth nowadays. It's illegal, I know that, obviously, because times have changed. It's illegal. But in them times, it was okay. That was what we done. That was what we actually done. And as I said, it wasn't just a question of going to get the egg, because to get the egg, you've actually got to go on a mission. Go on a mission. And I'm talking about when I'm only young. I'm still a kid, yeah? 10, 11, 12 years old. Now, one of the hardest eggs to get was a sparrowhawk's egg, and I got it in the end, but I nearly died through getting that, yeah. And that was on a pylon, on a short pylon. It wasn't a very high pylon, maybe only about 50 or 60 foot high. Pylons, for anyone that doesn't know, are electricity, carries the cables for the electricity. So you have high ones and you have low ones. And this was a particularly low one. Yeah, and I'd made my mind up. I'd seen the nest from the ground and watching the hawk go into the actual nest. So I knew it was a sparrowhawk's egg. And basically, I made a point of, yeah, I'm going up there. I'm going to get that, yeah. Which I done. But unfortunately, it was on a wet day. And if you've never been up a pylon, which probably most people haven't, yeah, when it's raining, you can hear the electricity buzzing through the lines, yeah, and sparking, and actually sparking when you're actually up there, yeah. And there again, I got this sparrowhawk's egg. That was the pride of my eggs, the sparrowhawk's egg, yeah, that I finally got it. And basically, nearly died with all the sparks flying around me on a wet pylon, just to get an egg, just to get an egg. Crazy stuff when I think back. And I remember when I got down from that pylon, yeah, my mate, he looked shocked, really, really shocked. And he said to me, Taylor, you're a mad bastard. He said, I really thought you was going to get burnt to a cinder up there. And I just laughed it off. I was just so happy that I'd got this sparrowhawk's egg. Yeah, that's all that mattered to me. And I think that this is where I am today after having this stroke, that I'm so determined and pissed off, to be quite honest, and pissed off that I'm not going to accept it. I am not going to accept it. I'm going to push on and get fit. This is what the videos are all leading up to. My basically fitness journey to get back to where I was before. Yeah. I think in life you've got to have a dream, you've got to have determination, And if you really want something, you got to fight for it. Nothing comes easy. Nothing comes easy in this world. You just got to fight for it. So, as I said, I think this is where this AI journey that I'm planning to rebuild my body comes from all the years ago of where I was determined to get birds' eggs, and it's come right the way down. Now, I'm not giving in to this. I'm not giving in to this. Yeah. So as I said at the beginning of this, just a little bit of a story today, just to talking out stuff. But I'm hoping that, people that watch the video, they might have had similar experiences of what they've done when they was young. And it's just another talking point away from stroke, doom and gloom. Yeah. And basically thinking to yourself, right, I've got through all that growing up. Yeah. Now I've had a stroke. Now I've got to get through this. It's just another drama in your lifetime that you've actually got to get through. Got to get through. Yeah. It seems as you get through stages of your life, you come up with challenges, and basically you got to push on and get through it. Yeah. So I really don't know what become of all my eggs, because I had about 5 boxes, hundreds of them. Yeah, I can't remember whatever happened to them. We did move from Watford to Slough, and I carried it on there. But then from there, I really don't know what happened to all my eggs. But they're probably worth a lot of money if they was all intact today. Yeah. But as I say, with all the conservation and everything else now, it's illegal, which I can understand. And where I live at the moment, sometimes I'm looking out the window, I don't see any birds. I really don't see any birds in the trees. Yeah, compared to when I was a kid, there would always be sparrows out on the roof, in the garden, lots of crows. There don't seem to be nothing now. So you can see these trees at the moment outside my apartment. It's January, but even so, they should be teeming with birds. But there's absolutely none at all in the trees. Now, going back when I was young, even in January, there would be lots and lots and lots of birds sitting up in them trees. Yeah. And now there's absolutely nothing. I can't see any. None at all. In all of the trees. Can't see not one bird sitting up in them trees. There don't seem to be nothing now. So maybe the bird population of the world is down now. I don't know, which is a shame, because definitely the world has changed, and the habitats have changed for where the birds actually nest. We've got such a lot of agricultural ground now where they can't nest in the fields. Yeah, the hedgerows have all gone. So it's changed. It's changed. And I feel sad for the kids that are growing up now. I know I keep going back to that, but from what I know from my own children, my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren, most of them have never experienced anything like I done when I was a kid. Nothing like it. Yeah. And it's a shame, because most of them now are on their iPads or their computers, and that's all they know. That's all they know. It's sad. When I think back that at a young age, I knew all the birds by sight. Yeah, I could tell you, all the robins, yeah, and all of the sparrowhawks and the crows. It's a shame, really, that the kids nowadays don't know any of that. Don't know any of that. But that's technology. That's the way it's moved on. Maybe in 50 or 60 years, the young kids of today will be talking about what games they were playing, yeah, to their children. So I don't know, maybe that's the way it is. But it's sad when I think back, yeah, that what I done at that time, most kids are not doing it now. Maybe that's why I've got through to my age as well. Although I'm dicing with death every time I went out, it seems. Climbing, being fit, and right the way through my building career, climbing. Maybe that's where it's got me to 77 at the moment. Yeah, so I'm grateful to get here. But as I said, I've got another challenge, which is getting fit again, yeah, through AI, the next stage of my life. Hopefully I'm going to be here in another 20 or 30 years still. Hope so. So thank you so much for watching. I'm going to draw this video to a close now. And please keep watching. Thank you so much. Thank you. So the moral of this story is that what I say to my kids and my grandkids and my great-grandkids, you're all lucky to be here, because I'm lucky to be here. So, love you all.
Hoping for the best, but expecting the worst. Are you gonna drop the bomb or